Okay, let's jump in. So right now I'm logged into the AlarmBiller application, and we're going to do a quick high-level overview before I jump in. So within here, we can start at the home screen. On the notifications to process, what this will have is it'll have all open work orders. These are any work orders that were ever created in the system that are open, obviously. So when you add a work order in, it's going to add it to this queue. Also, if a customer logs into their online portal, which we'll be covering today as well, if they go in the online portal and they create a service request or a service ticket, that will populate this queue as well, and we'll cover some best practices around that too. Now, you also have open appointments. Open appointments are appointments that are scheduled and tied to a work order. So if you click on this link right here, you can see we have 48 open work orders, and then we have 48 open appointments. If you click on this link, what this will open will be the work orders queue. Okay, and then we also have the calendar, which we'll touch on briefly here in a second. In the work orders queue, and you can see it's highlighted here, this will have all your open work orders within the system. It'll have all your open appointments, all your closed work orders, and recurring work orders, which we're not going to touch on too much today. We'll save that because that alone could be its own webinar. But this is where you can find all of your open work orders, closed work orders, or open appointments that are created within the system. Now, the next place that we were talking about was the calendar, and we'll cover more in detail in a minute. But the calendar basically will have all your technicians listed within here. It'll have all your appointments that are ever scheduled for your technicians, and then you will have the ability to not only manage appointments through here, but also schedule work orders. And a nice feature that I don't think a lot of our customers know about is creating a work order and an appointment directly from your calendar. Okay, so those are a couple key areas that we're going to be working with a lot today. But the first place I want to start is the setup, because the setup is really important, and these are going to be the drivers and keys in making sure you have all of the right information in for utilizing the work orders to their fullest. So the first things I want to cover are under operations. If you go into operations, you have two that I want to cover, and the first is going to be work order types, and then the second is going to be work order statuses. Now, work order types are labeling what type of work order it is, and there are some defaults that you have within the system, and so if you haven't modified any of these defaults, this might be a good time to do that. And so some of the work order types, and you can label a work order type whatever you'd like. This is very helpful, especially from a reporting standpoint. So if you want to drill in, if you have something very generic, it's going to be hard to drill in and find all the exact details when you're running reporting of what type of work orders did we have scheduled, which have we completed within a given time period. And so when you want to drill in and have some more analytics and drive some reporting around specific work order numbers, you're going to want to make sure that you have all these specific work order types in here. So I added a couple in here. I added a 3-2 rough, 3-2 trim out. We have a sales call, a repair order, and then if you come to my second page, service. So I know in the setup, initially it has service call or service request. What I did is I created specific services dash and a brief description of what type of service call it is. Because obviously each service call is different or may be different, and if you can label what type of service call it is and you know the estimated length of time when you're scheduling, this will allow you to not only schedule more calls within a given time period, but also, like we were just talking about, some better reporting. So when you add a work order type, you can simply just select add work order type. You can pick service, and then you can put in a brief description of maybe what type of work order it is. Now, the length of time, what this affects, when you create an appointment, and that appointment has a specific work order type scheduled for it, this is the allotted time that will block out on the calendar. So if you have a good estimate of how long specific service calls take, you can put that in there. It'll block it out on the calendar. And then the nice thing is when you run some of your technician time reports, you can see actual times that the techs are putting their start and stop times versus the estimate that you have within here. So again, fitting in more service calls and completing those in a timely fashion is the end goal with this. So that's work order type. So if you don't have all these work order types in here, I suggest that you do that. A couple other nice work order types that you might have would be if you have an upgrade, you can flag those off. So maybe it's a specific customer, the work order type, they're already using your system, but they want an upgrade to the system. You can also flag it off for that service request, and then I'll show you some of the defaults where you can actually have work order type defaulted for whenever you create a work order. Okay. Now we're going to jump over to statuses, and again, statuses is right under operations and work order statuses. So if we go into statuses now, what this has, and I know a lot of customers don't use these, they're different statuses. As you progress through the work order, you're going to want to have these updated so you know exactly where the status of the work order stands. So for example, if you have a go back ticket, well, you need to know that it's a go back ticket because it's going to keep the work order open. And then we want to know that status is, so when the technician flags it as a go back, I can work off the queue and say, okay, here's the 10 go back tickets I have. I know I need to create another appointment for all of these, and you can change the status, for example, in that scenario from go back ticket to work order scheduled. So there's a couple of different statuses that I created within here. One of those is ready to schedule. I know the default for a lot of companies right now is new, and that's great because you want to know there's a new work order. But when you're working off of that queue, if you can have a work order that's entered within the system and it's their appointment hasn't been scheduled, I suggest that you create ready to schedule, because then when you're running a report or you're filtering within your work orders queue, you can say, okay, I want to see all of my tickets that are ready to schedule that don't have an appointment. So hey, here's 15 tickets that are sitting in the queue. They've been sitting and ready to schedule for X amount of time. We need to get these scheduled out. So this will help you a lot with working through the progression of work orders. Now, we talked a little bit about go back, and you can get very specific with go back tickets. So a go back ticket, for example, would be you create a work order and you create an appointment for that work order. The technician goes on site. They're missing a part. Okay, so they need to reschedule it for another day and time. They can set this as go back, and it'll say missing part. So when you go in your work orders queue now, you'll see all those flagged for go back missing part. You can go into that work order, and then you can create another appointment and change the status from go back missing part to scheduled if you had a scheduled within here. So there's a couple that I've created within here. Here's that scheduled one. Ready to schedule, I also made another one for any that, and I put -WP web portal. So any customers that make it through the web portal, you can flag it and specify where that work order came from based on the status. Okay, so those are two things in the setup. Some defaults. The next that I want to cover is defaults. Defaults within the application, you can set system defaults for a lot of different things, but specifically for work orders, the new work order status. So whenever I create a work order in the system, it'll default to ready to schedule. Okay, so what I would say for ready to schedule would mean there's no appointment scheduled, so it's going to sit at that. Once it's scheduled, obviously you can change it from ready to schedule to scheduled, and we'll show you when we're going through an actual work order. Okay, so that's one of the defaults. Also, the customer portal defaults, you can set those as well. So the work order type, which we just covered, service request, I think that's a nice general default that you can put in there, and then the work order status ready to schedule again. So make sure you have those system defaults set up as well. Employees, another very important feature. Within employees, you see how we have a couple pictures here? If you don't have pictures in for your technician, I highly, highly recommend that you get these in there. So if you don't have any pictures, go snap one on a phone. Tell your technicians next time they come in to dress appropriately and get some pictures. Some of these pictures and notifications are customer facing. So some of the notifications, for example, and we'll show you a couple of these, some of the new work order, when a new work order is created to notify the customer, it'll have a picture of the technician. Also, when navigating the calendar and when you want to know who is scheduled for when and what type of work orders or what type of appointments are being overlapped, you need to have these pictures in because it's easier to identify that on the calendar as well. So it's really simple. If you go into the employee record, you can just select a file, upload that picture directly within here, and then make sure also a couple check boxes in here. So Justin is a salesperson and a technician, so myself, technician, if you have this checked, it'll show up on the calendar. So the calendar, you need to have these checked in order to have these employee records show up on the calendar. So whenever adding users and employee, first add a user in the system and then link the employee to that user and make sure a couple things are filled out. Also, with work orders, this cell phone right here, enable text notifications. I would highly recommend adding this as well. So for example, when work orders are created within our system, not only can you send an email to the specific technician on this email address, but you can also send text messages. So for example, when a new work order is created and scheduled for a specific time, you can select to automatically email the work order information to the tech, and you can also have it send a text message to the technician as well within here. Okay. One more thing with employees that I want to cover, and I use this personally. I think it's a great feature. You don't need to create a user for this, but I created a unassigned work order queue. So in this scenario, this might be, you might have a work order queue that's not an actual technician, so I'm not scheduling that appointment yet. But I have, X amount of tickets that I know need to get completed that day. So I'm going to put them in this unassigned work order queue, and as I'm scheduling, as slots or openings open up, I can just drag and drop from that unassigned work order queue and drag them onto specific technicians. And you'll see a live example of that when I go in there. But to set this up, again, you don't need to create a user. You can put some information in here if you want, but just create a technician within here. You can just say unassigned, and then I just put first name unassigned work order. This is really nice. I recommend you use this as well if you're not using it right now. The first thing I want to cover is creating a work order from the actual portal. So when a customer creates a work order from the portal, they will be able to log in and they'll be able to select a service and create one directly through there. So creating the work order on the portal, what it will do is it will create the work order. It'll put it in your work orders queue, and it will also send a notification to your company and let you know. So dear Smith Security, customer Ryan Sachs 1004 has created a new work order, and they can pick so service, motion failing, and they put a brief description. Motion detection is failing. Funky noise is coming from the audio rack. So this customer, Ryan Sachs, your customer, created a work order directly from that portal requesting service. So you'll get that email, and now if you go drill directly into Ryan, you'll be able to see that work order is created directly onto his customer profile. So I'm in Ryan Sack's profile right now. If I click on work orders, here's that work order that he created. So if I want to drill into that work order now, I can open it, and this will open up the work order, and I can see if he put any notes within there. I can view any of the notes, and then I can see he can also pick the type right from there as well. So going into here, I can see here's the note that he put on from the customer portal, and this note is basically showing what's going on and what the issue is. So this service ticket's open. It automatically flagged it like we were talking about as ready to schedule. And you can change this once you create the appointment. So the ticket's created, but the appointment is not created within there. Now, if he created any notes from that portal, the notes would show up here as well. He could, and so you could communicate back and forth by adding notes. And when the customer is logged into that portal, he will be able to, or she will be able to, see all the notes that they created, and then the notes that you create within the service ticket as well. So in this work order, to create a work order, there's a couple different ways, and we'll come back to this in a second. So I want to cover the couple different areas where you can actually create a work order within the system. The first is going to be the work orders tab. So directly within the work orders tab, you can click new work order. You can select the customer within here. So if it was Ryan Sachs, I could pick the customer. You'll be able to pick the site after you select the customer within here, and then you'll be able to pick the system as well. The other area that you can find the work orders would be in the actual customer's account. So again, if we want to bring up one of our customers, we can bring up that customer. And when the customer opens, we have a couple different areas. So the work order is right here, right at the customer screen. You can click new work order. You'll be able to pick a site. So if the customer has multiple sites, you'll pick the work order for where the site is for. And then if they have a system on that site, you can pick that system as well, and you can create a work order directly through here. Another place is if you want to drill down and get a little bit more details. So if Ryan calls in and you want to drill into that specific site and system, I can just come into Ryan's site right here, and this is his address for this site. I can drill into that site, and this will open up the system. Under the system, I can actually see details pertaining to this specific system that's installed. So if you have a CCTV system installed and a Burke system installed, you'll be able to drill into that individual system to see all the specifics, work order history, notes, call lists, system parts that were ever installed, etc. So in this specific system, I have no work orders open, but here's all of my closed work orders, the date that they were closed, and then if I wanted to drill into those specific work orders, I could click to open that work order to see all the granular detail pertaining to that. The last place that you can create a work order is directly from the calendar, and we will go into that in more detail in a second. But directly within the calendar at the top right, you can click plus work order, or you can create a work order directly within the calendar as well, and we can go through that after creating a work order in the system. So I'm going to come back to the work orders queue. We're going to look at all of our work orders. I'm not going to cover the queue today, but you can see with those statuses within here, a lot of them, I have some that are ready to schedule, so those are the defaults that I have in, and then here's listed all of my scheduled work orders. So this is going to make it with those statuses and the specific types. In this queue, you're going to be able to schedule off of those and make sure everything is scheduled accordingly, and then work off of this queue within here as well. So I'm going to go back to Ryan Sachs, and we're going to say that we're going to reference, so I got that email in. I know Ryan just created that work order, and obviously now we need to schedule an appointment for this. Creating appointments for work orders can be done a couple different ways. So if I click into this work order, you can see I have the status is ready to schedule. I'm going to change the status now from ready to schedule to actual schedule, because I'm going to schedule this right now. I have the service, the motion failing, and then any other brief description about this work order is going to be listed within here, and I can also add notes as well. So adding an appointment, I can click New Appointment. And within here, I have a couple options. I can pick the day, so the appointment time and day. And if you click on the calendar, I can click this for the 17th. You see my start time in here is 2:15. So if I schedule this, let's just say at 2 o'clock, this is going to map out on the calendar 60 minutes because that's the expected length of time on this type of service call as we created within the setup. So I can change this if I need to, if I think I'm going to need more time within there. And then I can also do an all day. All day would basically, it would sit at the top of the calendar for this technician, and it would be mapped out for the entire day. Or I can do additional days. Additional days, so if you have the type of work order is a Berg install, or a specific installation that's going to take more than one day, what this will do is it'll create multiple appointments. So it'll create an appointment for the 17th. It'll also create an appointment for the 18th and 19th. So if you have an install work order, it's going to keep the work order open, and each day the technician or whomever is going to be responsible for entering in the times for the appointment scheduled for the 17th, 18th, and 19th. So all of the labor and all the times are going to be compiled for each of those days, but you're only going to have one work order open. So if I selected those couple days, I could do that within there. Now, you can also select your primary technician. So who is this going to be scheduled for? We can schedule this directly for Adam. And additional technicians would be, an additional technician is for, let's say, for example, you have a helper tech. So in this scenario, you would have Adam's the lead tech, but Justin's going to be riding in the van with Adam. We only want to keep track of one person keeping track of the time. So Adam's going to put in his dispatch arrival the completed time, but Justin, it's going to appear on Justin's calendar because I know he's riding in the truck with Adam to go out to that call. Okay, the hourly labor rate, this came directly over from the service level. So this labor rate is based on the service level that we have selected for this specific customer for this site and system. And then after I do that, I can click Update, and I can schedule that appointment directly through here. Now, I'm not going to schedule that appointment because there is another way as well. So we know we have customer Ryan Sachs, and it's work order 475. Now, if I wanted to open up my calendar, I could open up my calendar, and I could create that appointment directly from the calendar. So I'm going to click Save here, and then I'm going to go into the calendar. And let's just say I want to schedule this, and I'll cover the calendar in more detail, but let's say I wanted to schedule this for tomorrow, and I'm going to create that service call. I'm going to schedule that for Tim Jones. Right here, I can just double-click, come to my type, click on Work Order. I can select that customer, so I know the customer was Ryan Sachs, and it's work order 475. I can say Ryan Sachs. I'm going to pick that work order 475. Okay, and then I have my technician pick for that work order, and if I want to put a description in here, I can put another description in for my technician. Click Save, and I'll be able to notify the customer or the technician. So in the setup, how I showed you where you could add the phone for the technician and also the email, if I click Notify Technician, this will only notify the technician, sending him a text message with all the information for this work order, and it'll also send him or her a email. It will be a PDF copy of the work order, and it will also have the electronic version where they can click in and they can access the work order electronically. Notify Customer will automatically send an email to the customer with a picture of your technician when the appointment is scheduled for, and they can click Confirm or Decline to notify you if for any reason they can't be available. Notify both will notify the customer and the technician. So I'm not going to notify, but basically what I just did, and I only scheduled it for a specific period of time, within here, I scheduled that work order for Tim, and I created that appointment for Tim directly on the schedule. And then if I refresh this now, here's that appointment that we just scheduled on there. So if I need to make any adjustments, I could come into here and make any adjustments as needed. Now, you can also create an appointment and a work order directly from the calendar. So let me show you what I mean. In the calendar, if I want to come into here, I can directly create one within here as well. So, and actually before I do that, I'm going to give you a high-level overview of our calendar within here. So I'm going to refresh this, and we'll go over an overview of the calendar first. Now, in the calendar, I'm selected on my technician view right now. My technician view has all my work order, or all of my technicians across the top. So Justin's one of my techs, Adam's a tech, Tim Jones, and then that unassigned work order queue that I created within the employee record, that's going to be sitting and listed directly within here. Okay, so now in here, if I want to look at a specific person's schedule, I can do that. And I can look at a week view. I can look at a day view. So if I click week view is going to show me all of the appointments I have for all my technicians. And you see how I have the face here? So I know these 3 appointments are overlapping. If I want to look at a month view, I can do that. And then there's also an agenda view. The agenda view will show a week and time, all of the specific appointments I've scheduled for. So January 12th, here's all of my work orders scheduled for that specific time period. And then if I want to look at a day view, I can look at the day view as well. I like the technician view. This will map out all of your technicians within here. Now, if I only want to look at 2 specific technicians, so maybe I want to look at Justin and I want to look at Adam. I can click on Justin and Adam. I can click on week view because I want to see what they have available within this week. And then you can see here's a work order schedule for Justin, Adam, Justin. I can tell by the face and then the name that's scheduled, and I can see any work orders that are overlapping. So you can add as many as you want within here. Click filter, refresh. Filter refresh will update the screen and update based on, if you make any changes, it'll do that for you. Now, you also have the refresh. Every 5 minutes, this is an automatic feature, will automatically update your calendar for you every 5 minutes. So if you're working in the office, I highly recommend that if you have a laptop, that you get another screen to have dual monitors, because you can keep your calendar open in one of the monitors, and then you can keep your work orders queue open in the other monitor, and it's nice to navigate back and forth between those within here. Okay. I'm going to go back to my technician view, and then you can always go back to today, and I have click today, and within here you can also select whatever date you want to look for. So I have my technician view up, and then if I want to look at tomorrow, this will show me tomorrow, will show me all of my technicians, what I have scheduled. Now, the unassigned work order queue, here's a work order that hasn't been scheduled. If you want to come in and you can drag and drop this work order onto the appropriate schedule, it'll allow you to notify. I'm going to notify both. And this will automatically will bring this work order over, and after this refreshes, let's see, now it's scheduled for Adam on his schedule. So I just got a text message on my phone because I'm the technician that it said I have a work order 416 scheduled for that specific time. As the address, I can actually click on the address on my phone. I'm going to bring it up in Google Maps, and then it has the details for what I'm doing, the CCTV installation. Now, the email that is sent out to the technician, this is what will be notified to the technician. So the technician is going to see the work order. He's going to have a PDF copy if he wants to download it. He or she wants to download a PDF copy. Also, they can download this appointment and add it to their Gmail calendar. Or if you're using Outlook, you can download it to the Outlook calendar. So not only will you have the calendar that you can work off of within AlarmBiller, but you can also work off the calendar as well within whatever other calendar solution that you're using. So in this work order, if I select this 474 work order number, this will open up the web browser. So if I'm a technician and I have my phone or I have my tablet device, I can click on that and it will open up the work order electronically, and so I can fill out that work order electronically on the fly as well. Now, the notification that will be sent to the customer will have a picture of the technician's face. So you can have your technician in there. The customer can click confirm or decline. And if they click decline or confirm, you'll get an automatic notification at the office. And here's just the confirmation email showing that Adam, the technician, that's coming out, and then Erica confirmed this appointment for that specific date and time. So coming back to the home screen now, we're going to go to technician view, and I'm going to just click back to today. So on this calendar, you can see as your technicians are logging in and putting in their times, you can see this technician, Adam Hyman, completed this work order, and the color is going to be up here, so you can see this kind of, I guess, more of like a peach color. Or salmon color is going to notify you that Adam completed this work order. And if I double click on this, I can see he put his dispatch arrival completion time in. And then if I come back here, you can see the green is on site. Dispatch, meaning the technician dispatched himself, so he's on his way to his first appointment for the day, or he's leaving one appointment to go to the next. It'll automatically turn blue. Now, if a customer confirms an appointment, it'll put a green outline around the work order. If they decline it, it'll be a red, and then a couple other here, and we'll cover this in other webinars. The proposals will be purple, and then a miscellaneous appointment like I have right here, sales meeting, is going to be that orange color. Recurring work orders we will cover in another video and within there. Okay, so let's now give a scenario. Let's just say I get a call from a frantic customer. So it's Erica Lamagna. She shoots me a call. She said, "Hey, Justin, I am having the hardest time in the world. My motion detection is failing. Could you send somebody out?" I can say, "Absolutely. Let me take a look at my my schedule. I'm going to click tomorrow. Let's see what we have available." So I know that Tim is my available, Erica, so how about around 10 o'clock? Does that work for you? So all you have to do is you can come in here and drag and drop. So I just drag from around 10 a.m. to 12, click enter on my keyboard, and that'll put my start and end time for this specific work order and appointment. So I want to create a work order for Erica, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to create a new work order from this appointment. This is going to not only create and generate a work order, it's also going to create an appointment right on the technician schedule form. This is probably where you should be scheduling a majority of your work orders from and the appointments from. So not only is it going to create that, but so I'm going to click on this button now, and I'm going to pick my customer. I know I have Erica on the line. Erica Lamagna. She's got, Erica, you got two sites. Is this for your beach house or for your house on Warren? She says it's their house on Warren, and then under there you have a fire alarm and Berg system. We're going to pick that Berg system. Now we have that scheduled for our specific technician. If I needed to add an additional technician, I can. And then, so Erica, Tim will be there around 9:45 tomorrow. And then this sync button down here. The sync button, this will automatically know any of the attendees, so technician or customer, if there's any appointment changes. So for example, if I had this scheduled for tomorrow at 9:45 and we moved it to 11, it would automatically notify Tim and it would notify the customer. So I'm going to check that because I want those notifications to be turned on. Now, when I click Save, I'll be able to notify both, so I'm going to click Notify Both. Now, that appointment is going to appear on Tim's schedule. It already scheduled, and it created the work order. The status that we had defaulted, ready to schedule, I can change that from ready to schedule to scheduled, obviously. So we're going to come down here. We're going to say this is scheduled now. This is a service request. It was motion failing. And then I can put in a brief description of what we're doing. So customer states motion detection is failing. You can click Save Now, and this is going to save that work order, and it's going to save the appointment that we scheduled for this work order as well. So while that's processing, if we came back and we wanted to open up that calendar, if we open up the calendar view, and that's saved in there, so now that's saved, it has the appointment. So now for Tim tomorrow, when Tim logs into the portal, so I'm just going to open up and I'm going to look at Tim. And we're just going to see what he's got available. I want to see his week view. Here's that work order that we just scheduled. So we created the work order and we created the appointment directly within here. So if I double click on that work order or that appointment, it has that description, customer states detection is failing. And if I come right in the work order, I can drill into the work order at any time. And this will open up the actual physical work order for you. It'll put it directly into edit mode, so I can make any adjustments that I need to from here. And then also on the calendar, if I want to dispatch myself, I can just click dispatch and click save. Now, another notification that will be sent to the customer is when I click save and click dispatch, I can automatically know the customer, and this will send an email to the customer letting them know that Tim's on his way. And when Tim does this in the field using his whatever device he's using, tablet device, and he puts his time in, you'll be able to know exactly where your technicians are throughout that day. So if you have a work order within here, and so for example, this one for Tim was on Monday, this is past due, obviously I know that this work order was scheduled. Today's Thursday. Tim didn't fill out this work order. So there's going to be some processes that are probably going to change and you're going to have to put in place. But once you do that, this is going to make the world of a difference, and it's going to make the application much more useful for you when you're working through that. And here's the email that the customer would just get to let them know. If I can bring this over in a second here. So here's the work order. Tim is on their way. So Erica at that time was at the grocery store. She just got this email, so she is on the way, running home right now because she knows this good-looking guy, Tim, is coming over to take care of the issues that she was having. Okay, I'm going to open up to some questions now. I covered everything that I wanted to on my list. So I'm going to open up and have some questions here, and we're going to see if what we have.